Barbadians are expected to benefit from a number of tourism development projects from St. James all the way to St. Lucie. Chairman of Barbados Tourism Investment Inc, Gibbs, spoke with me about some of the new hotels and tourism investments, as well as the building out of infrastructure in the west and north of the island. We'll also hear from Chairman of the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc, Shelly Williams, about the interest of cruise liners in the West Coast and the possibilities that opens up. Also having their say on development plans will be the people that work and live in the area. I'm Krystal Hoyte, and this is In the Know. Mr. Gibbs, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
There's been much discussion about development in the north, and a number of projects have started or are about to start. What can you share with me?
As chairman of BTI, I'm very excited about the opportunities for economic development through tourism development projects in the north. The first project that I would like to discuss with you is the Whole Town Redevelopment Project. The government of Barbados has determined that it's going to use beachfront property in its best economic use. So in essence, say for instance the Whole Town Center, what we will do is we will construct a new town center further inland, and we will partner with investors who will construct a hotel at that site. And we're estimating that that will bring about 130 million US in investment to that site, and obviously lots of economic opportunities and jobs. And obviously the BTIA, along with other government agencies like BIDC, Export Barbados, Invest Barbados, have a specific mandate which was given to us by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, that we have to contribute to driving growth in this country in 2023. It's very important for the economy, especially coming out of a high inflation era of 2022. We still have somewhat high prices, but this year we're looking at more of a dampening in demand. But we need to get jobs for people. So I'm excited about that particular project as kind of like the gateway into the north. And of course, because of where it's situated, you can imagine that we'll have lots of jobs for people from St. Lucie all the way down, both in tourism and in terms of operationally when the hotels are done, but also in construction, because construction does account for a large part of our economy. So in essence, having these projects being started in these areas will not only provide jobs in the construction phase, but then in the operational phase when they're completed. And we all know that there is a multiplier effect through the economy. So if you have employment and you're making a salary, not only do you contribute to NAS, but you also shop at small shops and the supermarkets who can then hire people because they have business. So this is what is the multiplier effect through the economy. So, we think of these things as just occupying one space in our economy. We can look at if when the central bank reports construction is up by this or down by this, and tourism is up by this or down by this, we don't really appreciate the scale at which this has an impact, a domino effect through the economy. So this could be key in just simply putting food on people's tables. Since we're talking about the north, the Marriott purchased the Elegant Group just before COVID, and they were about to make an investment. But as you know, COVID hit and it really destroyed the tourism sector. So now that COVID is not completely over, but it's kind of in our rearview mirror, Marriott is about to make a significant investment in the form of a renovation project for all of its Elegant properties, of which a good few are in the St. James area. So that is also going to be a boon to the north as well, because I am told that it's going to be a significant investment in upgrading all of their properties.
That says a lot about the confidence in Barbados' economy, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And especially coming off of 2 years of COVID lockdowns, where basically our economy ground to a halt, to have this type of significant investment in renovating multiple hotel properties in Barbados is a stamp of confidence.
But there's a balancing act when talking about tourism developments within communities.
Oh, yeah. So, the thing about the BTII is that, yes, we do facilitate tourism projects, but when you increase the amount of hotels in Barbados, you have to look at the infrastructure. So, what we just completed was actually what we call Salt Pond Phase 2, which is the Speightstown Flood Mitigation Project. So the thing about that project that really excites us, according to the representative for St. Peter, the Minister Colin Jordan, he has said that so far, so good. There haven't been any major flood events in the Speightstown area after that has been completed. And why is that important? It's important because when you develop these hotels and bring all these great projects to our landscape, you have to balance it out equally with upgrading our infrastructure to support these projects as well. So it was not squarely in our mandate, but our mandate at the BTI has been expanded, not only just for growth and jobs, but to look at maintenance in town centers and to look at these sorts of projects. The mirror project to that in Bridgetown would be the Constitution River Phase 3, which we just completed as well, which is also a flood mitigation project along with the beautification project. So those things I'm very happy to be a part of, equally, what I call the public good projects, along with facilitating these large tourism investment projects.
And speaking of large investment projects, the administration just went to Parliament for a project in St. Peter.
Yes, so what we did in Parliament, because I also sit in Parliament as the MP for St. Michael West, we vested 3 parcels of land in the BTII so that we can partner with investors from overseas who are desirous in constructing an $83 million US hotel right where the old Nikki Beach used to be, opposite Port Ferdinand. Why is that important? Because it's going to bring tremendous economic benefit to that area. And we know that Speightstown before had been spoken about a lot in previous years about the fact that it was somewhat dying. But I'm excited about the prospects because Speightstown is coming back with the new restaurants that have opened up in Speightstown proper, like Baya and those restaurants, and then along with this hotel, and also the developer is interested in expanding Port Ferdinand as well. We should see opportunity for jobs for people in that area, and it will also have spillover effects to the north and to the south. So we can see people in St. Lucie, as that's the gateway to St. Lucie, also benefiting somehow from these types of investments.
When we return, we talk about more developments coming to the north. Stay with us. We've covered Old Town, when up the coast of Speightstown, then sits Men's. What about St. Lucie?
We're not forgetting St. Lucie. So the BTIA had circulated some requests for proposals, and they were closed just recently. And we're excited with the possibility of partnering with a medical/dental facility, which will bring a school to the Harrison's Point area. Why is this good for the country? As the Prime Minister said earlier, students are like 9-month tourists. You've seen the impact that Ross University has had in a myriad of ways in terms of just as simple as transportation. There are a lot of taxis that have come together. I think they came together a cooperative, and they do all the transportation for the students. And I brought that example because that will give you an example of how citizens can benefit from these type of investments. So I'm excited about the possibilities of that, of bringing some of that type Ross type action to the north.
Lots of development from an infrastructure perspective. Are green spaces also on the table?
So in addition to bringing development and investment to St. Lucie, we are very enthused about the BTII actually constructing a park at Archers Bay. Now, I can remember when I went to Archers Bay as a child. I can't remember exactly how beautiful it was. When I went for a site visit quite recently, I was blown away. And the BTII was responsible for constructing Freedom Park in Bridgetown. And you see the impact that that has had. So we will be engaging in bringing a similar model to Archers Bay. Why is that important? It's important for a number of reasons. The model that the Prime Minister used for Freedom Park is in the construction of that park, we use a lot of local artisans. We also use a lot of individuals in the area to work on that project. And that model we're going to use for Archers Bay as well. So in addition to the park, we're also going to be creating kiosks. And this is, I would say, a baby of hers. Anything that we do in a town center or with green spaces, we're going to make sure that people can have access to earning a living, people in that area. And that is how we can open up such a beautiful park to tourists, to Barbadians, and also allow people in St. Lucie to make some money from the increased traffic that you'll have from such a beautiful park.
Coming up, BTMI Chairman Shelly Williams says there's lots of interest in the north. Mrs. Williams, thank you for making the time.
My pleasure.
It's my understanding that the development of Spicetown will play a role in expanding our tourism industry, with interest already expressed by cruise lines to dock in the north.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interest in smaller vessels asking to dock in Spicetown area, somewhere a little different than the port, where traditionally can hold very, very large vessels. So you're seeing smaller vessels wanting to go to a place that is more unique and quaint for them. And Spicetown is that place. We just built that new jetty, so they are very interested. But there's a process. We can't just do it right away. Obviously, we're working with the port, is working with the coastal unit, working with the residents. It's a holistic approach, and working with us in tourism to see how we can build on the momentum of Spicetown.
And you mentioned the process. Even with the jetty in Spicetown being restored, there's still work to be done. What would need to be in place from a logistics perspective?
So right now we have just, Port has just announced that they have just put in additional 3 moorings. First, we have to be able to know that we have a safe haven, that they don't damage, there's no damage to our coral reefs. And the coastal zone unit will see to that, I'm sure. They play a very vital role to any of this and all of this. And so once they deem where these mega yachts as well as the small cruise liners can dock safely, that is when we will move. We're not going to do it without them. We have to engage our people within that area, similarly like what we did in Oystins many, many years ago. Once we have the people investment in there, you will then see restaurants. It's already started. You now see more restaurants popping up in Spicetown. Hopefully we'll have more parking, because as we have ships and vessels there, we're going to need taxis to have parking space and parking allocation. We're going to need more restaurants, more coffee shops, more shopping, clothing shops, and those kind of things. So the infrastructure, but that can be built out with the people in the community.
I have to ask, what is the time frame for putting all of this in place?
Oh, I would love to tell you the time frame. You're going to hold me to that. Tourism plays, whilst we play a very important role in all of this, in the marketing of all of this, we cannot be the ones to give you the time frame, because it will all depend on the coastal zone unit. It will all depend on the talks that we have with the stakeholders and talks that we have with the community. And so that can take, if that can all happen in 6 weeks, we would love it, but it will take time, and I really can't say. We have an important role, but we are not going to be the ones who are anchoring that time frame.
For quite some time, there's been talk about water taxis running from the north to Bridgetown. Is that still on the cards and perhaps part of this plan?
It will be part of the plan, and also I've heard talks of having smaller jetties, the floating jetties that will allow people to take a jet ski and go from one restaurant to the next. There's one that is over by the cliff, and then there is one that is over by Fish Pot. So imagine if we have a lot of those floating type of jetties that can be removed. They're not hard piers, but they have those floating type of jetties that you can take guys with their jet skis and power boats, actually taking persons from their hotel or from restaurant to restaurant or bar to bar. I am looking forward to that, because that again builds our tourism product and builds industry and gives jobs to the average man that wants to do that, and more revenue for the jet ski men as well.
Speaking of revenue, can Barbados capitalize on that super yacht industry similar to what St. Bart's has done?
I mean, there's no reason Barbados cannot. We have existing facilities such as Port St. Charles and Port Ferdinand, who can hold and house mega yachts, and they do. So we do have the market. It is about expanding it. How do we expand? And so we have to, right now we have a smaller committee, and we are looking at how to expand this business. Because with super yachts come the jets. Mega yachts are in St. Bart's. The jets that are in St. Bart's. Listen, this is mega money for St. Bart's, a big revenue earning. So if we can capitalize, we have a gentle balance. We're doing well on land. We're doing well in the villa market. But if we can then come and have a tap into that, just 50% of that business, or even 25% of that business, because this year alone they had about 150 super yachts. Give me 50. This will mean so much revenue on the ground for Barbados, for tourism, and the persons who come on those yachts and stay on those yachts. They can contribute significant amount of dollars to the island. So right now we are working with the existing, building that out, looking at who can take care of the yachts whilst they're there. Do we have the correct facilities? Do we have the correct docking facilities? Immigration, how do we get clearance for those yachts and the persons on the yachts? Trying to make it as user-friendly as possible, but as safe as possible for our coastlines. So that's the gentle balance we're doing.
And it's clear how it could benefit the country from a tourism perspective. But what about the residents?
We can't do it without them. Just like the Oystins model, we could not do it without the fishermen in Oystins and the people indigenous to Oystins and around Oystins. We cannot do it without them. I came from a background of a small entrepreneur within tourism, and it is important to me to make sure that tourism is for everyone and seen as everybody's business. But we have to play a greater role in how we see our tourism product building out. So whilst we want to build it out, we cannot build it out only for a chosen few. It must be for everybody to benefit within around surrounding areas. I'm not saying that everybody has to be involved, has to be living around the surrounding areas, but I feel it's important to have a vested interest in that area. And that way there's a sense of ownership and pride. So absolutely, I cannot see under my leadership in tourism to have this kind of discussion without a vested interest within the people of the North feeding into this product. It just can't be successful without them.
Can't do it without the residents. Mrs. Williams, thank you for making the time. When we return, we're talking to people that live and work in the North.
All the talk about diversity, which is good, at the end of the day, at the moment, tourism is still our number one industry. And all we gotta play with part because that we're paying the bills. And anything to do with it, develop wise, whatever, the benefit the communities. You see, when tourists come to your country, they want to take part in what the locals do. That is why this bar that you are at now is becoming so prominent in 6 Minutes. A lot of tourists come here every week, Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesday is the roti night. At the end, he don't want roti and can get one, where the tourists buy all. Everyone they gone by the time he get here. And he get here early. Right? And Friday nights with the DJ, enough tourists again. Because they like this rustic thing. They love that. And that's why I'm saying the village and the community tourism will be helpful to this country. Because when the tourists come, they like to participate in what the locals do.
From a business perspective, Wayne Francois says tourism investments have a ripple effect.
Because we're small businesses, there's more opportunity to start to sell your business because there'll be a market in terms of people selling jewelry on the beach or even renting chairs out on the beaches and stuff like that. So if it's more influx of people to Spice Town, it'll definitely benefit small people or small entrepreneurs, I should say. So it's a good thing. But with development, I'm hoping that they kind of maintain Spice Town for what it is instead of changing it into something shiny and new. You know what I mean? Keep it quaint and authentic. And then that's what people just come to the Caribbean for. It's quaintness and the whole Caribbean vibe. So if you renovate if you change all the buildings and have it all shiny and new, it loses that whole Caribbean charm.
Well, we've just walked down here and stumbled across it first and foremost, and it's piqued my interest looking at a ramshackle boat and a load of people standing out here having rum punches, and then we're about to get a lovely fish cutter. So it's authentic, it's just real, really. So and there's lots of happy people here.
Whether you're a visitor or local, it's clear that more investment in the North will benefit Barbados. I'm Krystal Hoyte. Thank you for joining us.